Well, unlike you, I'm a bit of a newbie to the industry in that I've spent most of my career, 17 years or so, in business and finance, working across lots of different sectors, all sorts, beer, makeup, energy, just helping businesses be more profitable. And then I got interested in this space as a client, started getting PRP facials, treatments, just thought this is a really cool sector, loads of innovation. And started both, I invested in a couple of clinics, and I also started some business advisory to the clinics, kind of helping them work out, okay, how do we get you growing faster and more profitable? And that was sort of my route in, was really seeing some clinics and how they were running, and basically massive opportunity to help them be more profitable, give their clients a better experience, and have less stress for the business owners. So yeah, built PatientPerfect to solve those issues. I can talk a bit more about it.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want.
No, I think we'll definitely come on to like maybe what PatientPerfect is and how it works and how it supports people. But I think that's a really interesting kind of way into the industry, because again, different to me, whereas my introductory to the industry was through Joe, my business partner, and mom as well, who's a nurse prescriber. So we've come into the industry from that, solving the practitioners' kind of issues and troubles they were having with running the business. Again, I feel like there's, for us and for you at PatientPerfect, it's about kind of how can you help practitioners with those areas of like business that maybe don't come naturally to them, or they don't have the experience in, so that they can really focus on what I guess they excel in, which is the patient care, which is the relationships, which is the sort of treatment results. And kind of, I think both of our services really help practitioners. But your side of things, coming in from that client point of view, is a perspective that not a lot of businesses have, you know, because I think we're all very, particularly from my experience so far in the industry, is, you know, a lot of the services like ANS are geared towards how do we help the practitioner and then help the customers kind of, you know, that are at the end of it. But for you, it's really about, these platforms are really built sort of patient first, which is amazing, I think. Yeah, I think a real difference and need for the industry as well at a good time, I think.
Totally. And I think that's, you know, as you know, the industry is like, feels like it's getting a lot more sophisticated really quickly. Like there's a lot more entrants. Clinics are really having to up their game in their professionalism, how they're running their businesses. There's a lot of money coming in. So there's a lot of like positive change, but that also the bar is rising in what patients expect. And I think the thing that just really struck me was I get a better digital experience doing my groceries or dealing with my kids' nursery than I do paying hundreds of pounds for a luxury facial. And that just doesn't make sense. You know, it's a like luxury spend. It's a premium experience. There should be a good digital experience, basically. And I'm not saying that the booking softwares don't provide it. It's just they've really provided that, solving a great digital experience for the clinics. And now we're just getting to what about the client? 100%. And kind of being all bells and whistles in the way we might expect from other sectors.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a shift really from the practitioner's kind of acceptance of it as well. So like we've been kind of, ANS has been around for sort of six years, and probably a year or two before that, kind of, you know, figuring out what practitioners actually need. And I think there's been such a change probably since COVID in terms of like acceptance of digital and realizing this is, like you say, in other aspects of your life, you know, outside of aesthetics and outside of owning the business, you just expect digital workflows, you expect technology to kind of be there and just make life easier. Like that is the world we live in. And I think a lot of practitioners now are really kind of accepting of wanting those solutions to be able to look not only like professional, but also so that their patients get that extra experience that typically, if they don't have these tools like PatientPerfect, if they don't have a booking system, if they don't have a record system, there is so much like manual admin involved to try and offer that kind of level of experience that patients expect with these sorts of price treatments, that it just becomes really quickly unachievable to actually maintain, I think.
Totally. Yeah, and I can speak a bit that is a very common story that we experience as we come across a client. We start working with a clinic who's been doing memberships manually, and it's like a nightmare. And like one of the team is spending hours and hours dealing with Excel spreadsheets and checking bank accounts, and they just come to a point where they reach capacity. They can only deal with like whatever 15 or 20 clients membership, because it's just too much work otherwise, which doesn't make sense in 2025. and then we migrate them, and then it's all automated, and you're taking that pain work off the team, and you can actually scale the membership program.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's in an exciting moment where practitioners, the bar is raised for what they know they should be offering and what they expect from all of us software providers in the space, and that feeds into like a healthy industry. It's great.
Yeah, and maybe touching back a step there before we kind of maybe dive into like how PatientPerfect solves those sort of memberships and stuff that really is becoming a lot more talked about. I find, like, from our point of view, it's not, memberships isn't a feature we kind of specialize in, and me and you have had this conversation about kind of, doing a memberships really needs to be done well, which I think is where PatientPerfect solves the issue. But prior to that, kind of, what do you feel like the way the industry is going that's kind of led to memberships becoming this like more talked about thing? Like, what are the sort of trends that you feel is leading into that?
Yeah, I'm going to answer it, and I'd also just love to hear from you on that as well, because you've obviously been in the industry longer, and we probably see different things. But one of the big themes is obviously a lot of innovation in treatments. It's partly innovation too. You've got all the regenerative stuff that wasn't around 10 years ago, polynucleotides, exosomes. I guess PRP was, but it's much more widespread now. And you've also got this broadening definition. So there was that interesting consulting room email the other day about, like, is your clinic having an identity crisis? And it did make me laugh, but it's like a good and a bad thing. Also, the definition of the kinds of treatments these clinics offer is expanding to hormone testing and, weight loss management and nutritional advice. So there's a much broader suite of treatments you could be offering compared to 20 years ago, which was probably just Botox and some basic facials. So that has two implications. One is there's massive opportunity to take a client who's just coming in for one treatment, educate them about the broader treatment suite, because there's probably something else there that's a fit for them. And a lot of these treatments might be maintenance type treatments, might be the kind of thing, or we know they are. They're the kind of thing where it's not one-off. It's not one thing every year or every 5 years. It's 3 to 6 a year, combined with this other treatment, which will improve the overall outcomes. This kind of treatment stacking idea as well. So there's a much stronger case for, okay, your treatment protocol actually looks like whatever, maybe 3 Botox, 3 polynucleotides, and like 3 of this laser every year. And that's your maintenance protocol. So there's that kind of maintenance idea. And then there's also, again, coming back to the patient expectations, which is the angle I always come from. They are used to the idea of memberships in other parts of their life. They're used to this idea of click a button, know those things are going to happen. And that's a huge part of it. People underestimate that. It's not about saving money always. Often it's about, I've just locked that thing in. I don't have to think about it. I just know the money every month. I'm going to get the reminder. That bit of my life is sorted because I have so little brain space. Because everyone's got a little brain space, because we're all just juggling crazy modern lives. So that is a huge benefit of, like, okay, I just know that bit of my wellness or aesthetics or self-care is locked in. So that's a big part, I think, of why people are kind of trained in that in other parts of their life, and then are coming to see it from aesthetics. What about you? Why?
I think that is really interesting, because I think that whole membership idea, like, we find that a lot of practitioners, one of the simple things that ANS offers is like a reminder to rebook. So this sort of, like you say, treatments in aesthetics aren't really not designed, but they're not designed to be one-off treatments. They are those treatments that you need to upkeep in order to see the results that these treatments can deliver. We find that if a practitioner kind of joins with ANS, maybe they're new to software, setting up a rebook reminder to tell your patients you're due back for your toxins in 3 months, you're due back for your next polynucleotide treatments, is the simplest thing that you can turn on that will increase the amount of bookings you get. And some practitioners, I think, I think it's one of those, when you live and breathe aesthetics, I'm guilty of it. I think everyone knows everything about aesthetics because this is the industry that we're in. Whereas patients will come for their treatment, they leave your clinic, and then life absorbs them. They don't remember in 3 months' time that they're due back for that treatment. So like you say, these memberships are because patients want to keep up their results. They want to get what the treatments can deliver, but they need to almost have that kind of thing locking them in to be like, oh, okay, I'm due back, or, oh, okay, my next course is due. Those sorts of things patients want from practitioners. And I think it's almost getting practitioners to think a little bit more like it's not just the duty of care for the treatment. It's about allowing that patient to have the best success with you. Do you know what I mean? And give them the tools to have that best success. Like, I think when I think about kind of where the industry's gone since I've been in it particularly, is there's a lot more focus now on how do we retain the patients I've got as opposed to just acquiring new ones. And I think that's probably just the industry as a whole has grown so much, particularly over the last 5 to 10 years, where maybe 10 years ago you could quite easily get new patients from referrals. There maybe wasn't as many people in the market, whereas now it's not how many new patients can I get every month, and that will sustain me, because even if my patients don't come back, I'll get new ones. It's actually about, okay, if I can get a solid base of 100 to 200 patients and retain them all, you might not need thousands of patients if you've got them on the right sort of, like you say, treatment stacks, the right sort of retention, and getting them come back regularly. I think that really is a key focus for practitioners, and I think they're realizing, right, we need to focus on delivering that sort of experience to each patient so that they keep coming back and we haven't got to worry about them going elsewhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's a few things I want to pick up there. First of all, the piece around you're doing the right thing for the patient or the client with memberships. I can't emphasize that enough, how, or the nudges, the kind of recall reminders. And I think there's, it's much commented there's this slight nervousness or maybe lack of salesiness with ex-NHS healthcare practitioners. But on that, I would just reassure everyone, we consistently get, with memberships, people don't sign up for it unless they want it, right? But even with the recall reminders, turn them on, because the kind of the evidence we see is that clients are kind of really appreciate it. I certainly, like, be it with aesthetics or dental, I get my dental recall from a hygienist. I know I need to go I've got sensitive gums. I know I need to go every 6 months. There's no way I'm going to remember. I'm like, thank God I get that recall reminder, because I'm not like doing it 6 months in advance. And and it's like, I do want to get my next round of polynucleotides in. That's my self-care and my present to myself. And like, thank you for reminding me. So it's really important to know that this is like two things, that you're not pushing something your clients they don't want. And also with memberships, the value of it is as much that it's not all about discounting. I think there's this myth that memberships is all about knocking loads of money off, and that's the value of it. It's not. The value of it is as much spreading the same price over monthly, because that is a form of affordability, and the locking it in. And then on retention, absolutely. I mean, this is stuff which I've just seen in all the work I've done in other sectors and kind of lived and breathed. And I think now this sector is starting to understand is acquiring new clients is always so much more expensive than holding on to your existing clients. So once you've got them in the door, hold on to them. And of course, a lot of that is what you do when they're in the chair and build the relationship and the trust and the quality of the outcomes. But it's also around those other touch points when they're not in your clinic. And it's kind of like, get that right before spending more money on meta ads or social media, because you will save yourself so much money.
100%.
And also the clients are happier because they're going to have better outcomes. Instead of just they come in for something, you forget about them. You're like, hey, by the way, this treatment's a really good fit for you and actually stacks really well with the one you had. They get better outcomes and they're happier. Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think also alongside patient retention and getting those people back through the door, for a practitioner, leaving the kind of NHS, which a lot of kind of, practitioners that we support are kind of have been in the NHS. That's or some of them are still in the NHS. And I think this idea of sort of focusing on patient retention also gives you a lot more security in making that jump to go full-time aesthetics if you haven't already. I think a lot of your clients probably are full-time in aesthetics, but even just giving you that confidence of like predictable revenue, you can kind of, one massive benefit I see of this whole membership subscription sort of idea is that predictability. We operate on a recurring subscription basis. That's our pricing model, and it really does kind of, seeing that kind of come into the aesthetics industry is really interesting, because it's not worrying about, right, how many bookings I've got in the calendar for the next 2 months, because you almost know that you've got, right, I've got this many people on a membership. It almost gives you that base of like, right, that's my security. And I think that's a massive kind of plus of this new way of offering to patients. And not every single patient is going to join the membership, but having that option there for patients that do want to be kind of able to split their payments, and see it as more of a, like you say, broken down over X amount of months, and they know they're going to get X amount of treatments included in that, I think is really valuable for kind of practitioners' own well-being in their mental state, really, because running a business is hard, it's stressful, it's, you are worrying about kind of the next 6 months, the next 12 months, and it gives you that sort of security. I think that kind of reassurance that you have got revenue coming in. into the clinic and alongside your new patients, for sure. One thing I wanted to just touch on there as well is, like, I think PatientPerfect is obviously kind of a new app and a new sort of thing to the industry that I think has tried to be done in the past, that I've seen from different various platforms, maybe even like clinic management systems like ours, where there isn't enough emphasis on that client point of view. It's all about how the practitioner can manage the subscription. And I think that's one element of it. But I think equally, for a membership to actually go well from our point of view and to actually be successful for the clinic, it's all about the patient experience. How do they interact with this whole membership idea? Because there's nothing worse than, you know, in any kind of area of your life, signing up to a subscription or a membership, and a few months later you think, right, this isn't really I've just see this monthly amount coming out every month. Whereas I think that's one thing I think PatientPerfect is doing really well, is it's showing the value to the client, like, and it's almost like a no-brainer is how I sort of see it for patients. I think, why wouldn't you want to interact with your clinic in this way?
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it is a new thing to the industry. I feel like now people understand it, but definitely, like, our first year, there was a lot of people like, is it booking software? We're like, no, it's not booking software, you know. And then we have some of the practice management software providers, like, kind of thinking we're trying to do what they're doing. And I'm like, no, we are not going to build practice management software, because practice management software done well, as you know, is a beast. There is a lot to it. There's a lot of different modules, and there's a lot of good players out there. And it's more just, there's this one thing which we're trying to do really, really well and be entirely focused on, which is client engagement, the client experience, and kind of deepening that relationship between the client and the clinic. It's like a commercial bolt-on to whatever software platform you have as a clinic. But yeah, I feel like now the industry is kind of getting it. Like, now there's a lot more kind of recognition and people get it. And the memberships are huge in the US, by the way, in the US kind of med spa space, which is part of our inspiration. Was, you look ahead there, what's going on there usually will come here down the line in 2-3 years time. And memberships, treatment banks, so clients kind of save it up to kind of a piggy bank idea. That is huge out, and there's lots of different software players kind of enabling it. And we're kind of catching up here now. And it makes sense for everyone. It makes sense for the practice. It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I totally agree. To touch on there, so we've just kind of released a new sort of integrations bundle, and one of the things we've discussed, obviously, we've integrated with GoCardless, which primarily, they are a payment solution in all different aspects, but primarily around that sort of subscription direct debit setup. And it's one thing that I think introduced me to what practitioners were starting to offer in this sort of subscription breakdown. I think a lot of people that have come to us asking about GoCardless, whether they use it already or not, is for those sorts of clinics where their patients basically want that sort of split payment. They want to know they can pay £50 a month and then come back in 3 months' time and have their Botox treatment or whatever it might be, and whatever amounts it might be. But then I think, as I've starting to market this to our clinics, there is a difference between just a simple subscription direct debit, which I think is what GoCardless through ANS can offer. But equally, I don't think that really gives everything that memberships and what PatientPerfect offers in terms of loyalty and rewards covers, if that makes sense. So I think it'd be really interesting to hear from you, just maybe what you see as the difference between those two, and why PatientPerfect might be more suited, if GoCardless is maybe too much of a simple offering.
No, it makes total sense. And by the way, GoCardless is the GoCardless integration makes total sense. I think it's an amazing company, by the way. Like, I was just mulling on the I know some of the founders. I remember when they started being like, oh, direct debit, like enabling direct debits, like, why does that matter? You know, and like 12 years on, you're like, oh yeah, it's enabled so many businesses. So yeah, and I think it makes total sense, and is a great addition to ANS to have that feature. So I think, and it's amazing how many patients you see who want that, who want to do the paying monthly and paying in. So what I would say is, particularly, PatientPerfect isn't for everyone. We actually like turn some people away. If they are, not turn them away, but we say, come back in 6-12 months time. You need a certain sized client base already. Okay. We're not like a cold client acquisition tool. And we also usually recommend, if you're not working full time, like it's just not worth the investment. You're not going to get the ROI on it. So kind of, again, you know, you get lots of these practitioners who are starting out, maybe doing a couple of evenings a week around the NHS work, starting out. Like, wait till you are a few years in and you're kind of maybe not doing it full time, but at least doing close to 3-4 days a week, or and it is much more of a kind of all bells and whistles tool for deepening your client engagement. So yes, enabling those monthly savings, but also you can do promotions, you can do mobile first communications, announcing new treatments, you know, just engaging people. Are you winter skin ready? Whatever. And obviously clients can earn rewards. The clients can use financing. So there's a whole load of features all designed around that client being engaged and feeling connected to your clinic, and wanting to come in more regularly and spend more money with you. But I think there's loads of clinics out there who are not yet ready for that, for whatever their clinic is mature enough, and that's not a criticism, it's just where they are in the journey. Or the ROI doesn't make sense, because we are a marketing tool. That's what I always say is, like, booking software you have to have. It's a hygiene bar. It's like your medical waste bins. You just have to have it. and it's just something you have to have as part of your practice. PatientPerfect you don't have to have. It's marketing spend, and it only makes sense if you're making a return on it. And so we want people paying for it unless we're confident they're going to make the return on it. But for those clients, it's really useful to have the Go Cardless embedded into ANS, because it means they can really easily offer that to their clients. And that's going to be a really important part of their growth when they're going from the 1 evening a week to 3 evenings a week to full time, you know. Or it might just be they're really focused. They have a bunch of clients who really want that, but practitioner doesn't really believe in rewards or doesn't want all the other stuff, in which case what you offer is great and they don't need the full bells and whistles.
No, and I think that's really nice kind of way of like differentiating, because I feel like I'm really excited kind of this partnership that we've formed, because it comes at a really good time where we can say, right, like you say, what sort of stage are you at in your business? If you are kind of just getting started, or, you know, like you say, still not quite kind of at that 3 to 4 days a week mark, maybe Go Cardless is a better fit to start to get your customers familiar with the idea of regular payments, and almost like an introduction to what a membership will be. You know, you can even kind of term it as a membership and get people to join, and you say it's this amount a month, and it gets people into that sort of mindset of, oh, aesthetics and recurring payments do work together, you know, like you would with your subscriptions for everything else in life. But like you say, I think we have a lot of clinics that are looking for better ways to retain their patients. You know, they're established, they may have like multiple practitioners, they're looking at ways that they can get those clients to really engage a lot more and embed themselves with not just their kind of not standard treatments, but, you know, they're sort of their kind of traditional treatments, like, you know, your dermal fillers, your injectables. What else can they kind of get patients engaged with on a point of view that's going to add to their results, but also get them locked into becoming more regularly? And I think as practitioners, you do have to think like this is a business. You want people to come back and increase what they're spending with you. You know, you want to be able to see what other areas of your services can they also tie into. And I think this membership and sort of app through PatientPerfect really allows you to almost sell to the patients what else you offer, without being the one sat there. Like sometimes, you know, medical professionals feel a bit awkward being like, oh, and we have this on offer. That app almost is like a little shop front. I feel like it gives them that, like, oh, here's this promotion on this. Did you know about that? And it's almost like takes away that sort of face-to-face sales that they have to do, because it kind of puts it through PatientPerfect, which I think is also, again, I feel like we're just unearthing different benefits and selling points of PatientPerfect, but it really is like that kind of sales shop front that maybe the clinics don't feel they want to have in person. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that might
a lot up. I mean, you're absolutely right. And I always say it's like a digital storefront, and, you know, it's a way of touching your clients when they're sat at home on watching TV on a Friday night and just reminding them you're there. But yeah, we talked a lot about PatientPerfect. It'd be helpful because we have a lot of ANS clients with PatientPerfect. We also have lots of clients who don't yet have practice management software. Actually, there's a few don't have practice management software, or just using one of the kind of simple booking softwares like Fresher and want to move something more specialist. Or some are looking to move practice management software. So it'd be great also for you to just help our client base understand kind of, you know, what's the ANS proposition. And I know that your software is great. We hear great things about it from our clients, but you're probably better at articulating that.
For sure. So ANS really, I I think what set us apart initially was we were really super focused on medical aesthetics. You know, this idea of kind of aesthetics being sort of beauty based wasn't kind of the side of the fence that we sit on. We were sitting on, you know, medical professionals that want to offer these treatments to support practitioners. And with that comes a whole host of compliance elements that I think weren't being covered when we initially set out, and making sure that practitioners feel they've got all their ducks in order, all of their paperwork is kind of in place that they need for their compliance, you know, being medical professionals, to kind of tick all those boxes. But really it's developed into more than just a booking system and a patient record system, something that allows your business to sort of work for you. So getting an online booking come through and having that whole flow of communication right through from confirmation, sending out your forms before the treatment, through to reminders so that you're not getting those no-shows, deposits to further increase the kind of reduction of no-shows, that can really impact, it's particularly kind of aesthetic businesses where it's 1 to 2 practitioners, and then through to like follow-up. So not just stopping at the patients coming to clinic, they've had their reminder, they've had their forms and their documentation. What does that after clinic experience look like, which a lot of practitioners just don't have the time to really focus on every day and think, right, have I followed up with them? Have I checked in with them? Have I asked them for a Google review? Have I sent something else to them in 6 months time? You know, sort of flow really just by using ANS as a booking system, that knows what treatment they had, that knows if you then added on another treatment at the end, at the kind of consultation, and they've had 2 treatments, to then send that sort of follow-up of, right, let's send something to them an hour, not an hour, 24 hours later to say, you know, how's treatment going? Have you got any questions? Please get in touch, and giving that aftercare that a lot of patients need. But then equally then having another sort of drip sequence of maybe 2 days later, right, I hope you're kind of loving your results. We'd love it if you left us a Google review. It's really important for small businesses like us, and building up that online presence without you having to do anything. And I think that's the bit kind of beauty that we're trying to get through to practitioners is software isn't just another expense that maybe you should cut out. It really is going to help you survive in the long term, because those clinics that are doing all of this, that have got this automation set up, that are letting systems like ANS sort of kind of give that patient experience another level, are the ones that are kind of seeing more patients come through the door. And then it's like a flywheel, isn't it? Which, you know, you and me both have in business as well. You know, partnerships and referrals are massive. And I think having a system like ANS that does that for you and starts to create that sort of flywheel effect, before you know it, we've had practitioners that joined us 3 years ago that I look at their clinics now and I'm like, it's amazing to see where they're at when they joined us. That's being so like nice. 1 or 2 days a week in clinic, and, you know, kind of conversations we'd had with just the owner being like, oh, you know, it's a tough industry to go into. I think a lot of people underestimate it is hard to get started and get that traction. But now I think if you're really kind of focused on not just, right, I'm going to inject and I'm going to be, you know, or treat, and I'm going to know everything about all these kind of treatments. If you think about what systems you've got in place to help you get to that level that you want to be at, it isn't a given, but if you stick it out and you put the right things in place, it will get there, because that flywheel comes into place. And before you know it, you've got new patients coming in every day, or inquiries coming in, as well as your retention piece of patients that we've already covered. So, and I think that's the key, really, having a system like ANS. When I talk about differentiation, yes, you can have your booking system that takes your bookings, that handles a task in your business. Yes, you can have somewhere to put your consent forms that handles a task in your business, but trying to pull all of that together to really work for you is, I think, the sort of key of what you should look for in a software. You know, and there's so many other things you can then add on, gift vouchers. When you know, again, thinking about kind of ways that you can kind of get new patients in, gift vouchers has been a massive thing this year for our practitioners. That, you know, any sort of occasion really, Valentine's, Christmas coming up, summer, spring, Mother's Day, gift vouchers are kind of something that everyone's known about for a long time. But I think really, if you dig beneath what that actually brings to a clinic, yes, you get the upfront cash of selling those gift vouchers, but typically a gift voucher is given to someone as a gift. So that's a new patient being introduced. And I think maybe practitioners don't always realize that element of it is, by selling gift vouchers, you're encouraging your patients to bring new people to you.
Totally. And that's another one. Gift vouchers is another one which is huge in the US med spa industry, and much less so here, but I'm pretty sure flash forward 3 years time, we will have caught up.
But again, it comes on to, like you said about memberships, when you was looking at when PatientPerfect was getting started, gift vouchers is something that should should be offered by all clinics. But if you haven't got the right tools to manage that, it is a nightmare. You know, writing out a gift voucher to give to someone and then hoping that they bring that gift voucher back, that they, you know, it doesn't get lost, you know, that you've got a track of how many you've sold. It without some sort of system to manage that. Same with membership, you can get to a certain level of people using them before you actually think, install management of it.
Yeah, and again, it is like remembering your clients are like, they are not isolated. Like they have all these other experiences out in the world which shape what they expect from you.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like very, very, okay, I love coffee, I always drink coffee, very occasionally, it's really rare, but occasionally I will get offered a paper coffee stamp card. And I am like, are you serious? Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, maybe myself sound chaotic here, but like, there's no way I'm going to hold on to this because I'm so used to the Gales app or Squid Loyalty, all these things in coffee shops, which is so easy and make sure you can earn my loyalty that way. And yeah, all your clients will be the same as me. You know, they're just they're experiencing this sector, for better or worse, has been late to digitize. So actually, like I said, dealing with their kids' school and nurseries, even if it's like, you know, doing their groceries, whatever it is, getting their coffee, getting their, all of their kind of gift card features, rewards features, all of that, payments features are pretty slick actually. And we're kind of as an industry catching up, but your clients socialized by those other experiences. That's kind of what they're subconsciously expecting.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's where like we was kind of trying to educate. I think definitely now everyone knows the importance of booking systems, but we had that same sort of trying to educate people of like the importance of a booking system a couple of years ago, because it was, oh no, I can manage, you know, I can manage my inquiries. I prefer to know what time slots I'm giving out, which is all great if you've got, you know, a handful of clients. But once you get past that, you start to lose out on these people that not only you maybe not get back to them quick enough, but people that are just going onto your website. If you haven't got a book now button, a lot of people are just thinking, oh, I'll look for the next clinic in the list that I can just book a consultation with. And I think that's been such an important thing that people are now realizing. I think you are right, will come down to trickle down in terms of like memberships, gift vouchers, those sorts of things. I think and also like it's hard as well for practitioners. I do, you know, sympathize with them sometimes, because I think, or empathize, I do think like there's so many systems that they can use and want to use, but equally then that becomes overwhelming as a practitioner that isn't from a sort of business background or isn't sat in an office all day where they have the time to manage all of this. You know, you've got patients back to back, you've then got end of clinic, school run, you know, cook dinner, all of that. Managing multiple systems can be really hard. So again, trying to find systems that talk to each other. So again, ANS, I know it's really easy to implement into PatientPerfect, but any booking system you've got, I think is easy enough to implement into PatientPerfect. So you've got that flow that you don't have to then worry about, oh, but then I've got to duplicate that information out to over here. And I think that's a really important piece as well, because some people would listen to this and think, oh yeah, that sounds great, but another system, you know, I don't want another system to have to log into and worry about. How have you found people on board in that part side of things with the bookings through PatientPerfect?
Yeah, I mean the app just connects through to whatever booking system you use, whether you're watching, let's say, ANS or Pavil or whatever, because the, you know, even though it's not designed to be a booking tool, it's designed to be that rewards, memberships. It doesn't make sense to be in somewhere which represents the clinic and not be able to book. So push you through to whatever your booking page is, basically. That's worked very well.
That's good. And I think that is, I think particularly, I mean, maybe we can touch on kind of like the partnership itself. So in terms of like ourselves and yourself, we kind of think that we've got a lot of clients that use ANS, that I think PatientPerfect would be well worth the look, because I feel like I said, yes, we've introduced Go Cardless. Yes, we have all the sort of, you know, other things that manage their business, but really PatientPerfect are so focused on this client engagement piece. And I think a really good fit as well, because one thing that I, particularly myself and Joe, when we kind of started bringing out the software, was support is just as important as the software itself. One thing that practitioners think rave about ANS is because it's not just this platform where, you know, you then submit a ticket if you ever got a problem. It's about who's behind our business, and that's myself, Joe, the team that are there to help if you get stuck, because clinic's busy, life's busy. People just want to be able to get through to someone that's going to give them help and solutions. And I think that's what I have already experienced with yourself, so receptive, so easy to kind of get in touch with anyone if there's ever a problem. And I think that's a massive part of clinics choosing what platforms to use. Is it's not always just about every last feature. It's about, how am I really going to be the supported if I need it?
100%. And it's something deeper than that. And like, I wanted to pick up on it earlier when you talk about those clinics you've seen grow. It's like your face lit up, it's why you do what you do. And and you come from it, your mum was doing this, so it's very personal to you. I come from a slightly different angle of just, I've always been very positive, passionate about female entrepreneurs, helping female entrepreneurs succeed. But like, that's why we do what we do. We want to help these clinics be successful. We want to make these practitioners' lives easier, because it's hard. And and it is so fulfilling when you see them grow and their businesses grow, and then when your tool has played a role in that. But yeah, when I know that you and your team feel that, I'm very confident also me and my team are kind of highly motivated by that. And that then comes out, and as you say, it's not just pay the subscription, run off with the tool. It's like, no, we are on the end of WhatsApp anytime of night or day, and we are going to train you all, and we are not going to stop until you're getting value, until we're kind of with you every step of the way. And I think that is really, really important. It's definitely, I think, a kindred spirit between our two organizations.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just a really good, I think it's a really good fit. Yeah, for sure. I think if I was like, if any of our clients that are listening, when we kind of share this, like, what's the best way for them to kind of get in touch with you or find out more about PatientPerfect?
DM us on Instagram. We're _PatientPerfect_. You can email me. I'm Corinne, CORINNE @patient-perfect.com, or go onto the website, patient-perfect.com, and book a demo, any of those channels. And mention you're an ANS client. And something else I wanted to mention is we also have a lot of nurse practitioners, a lot of single nurse practitioners as well, using the tool. And we're launching some, we've got some who are just really fantastically commercial actually in how to use the tool. And we're going to start some trainings, kind of like nurse to nurse trainings, basically just about where we're seeing some really cool commercial outcomes from the tool, and kind of offering those trainings to some of other client base. But yeah, and likewise getting in touch with you.
Yes, so www.aestheticnursesoftware.com or info@aestheticnursesoftware.com, and again, Instagram, Aesthetic Nurse Software. So try and find us, reach out if you've got any questions. But I think this is a really exciting conversation to have at this time, because I think a lot of people are talking about it, and this industry spreads like wildfire when something new comes out. And I think there's a lot of conversation going on about memberships and how you can set up these different things. But I think it's the how can people implement this that I think then becomes the blocker. But if they don't know what is available, and even just if they come and speak to us or yourself and they think, okay, maybe memberships isn't for me at the moment, at least they've got more information and they understand, okay, what can this add to my clinic, and think about it, how they can kind of implement that.
100%, exactly. And it's exactly, it might be a broader conversation about understanding, okay, what might it look like for my clinic? Here's my treatments. What we see a lot of memberships across the sector. So we can also say, look, okay, if you've got these treatments and you're located here, and this is what your your client base is like, this might work. And we do speak to clinics who are like, I want to do this, but actually I just need to get this other thing sorted, and I'll come back in 6 months' time, and then they do. It's also about getting the timing right for your clinic. But yeah, we're always happy to just have a chat. And exactly, keen to, we all just want our clients to be successful. So yeah, just get in touch with whatever would help in that respect.
Yeah, 100%.